Hey there, my wedding planning friends, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thanks so much for clicking on this video. I'm Emily Summer. I'm a wedding planner based in Montana, and I make weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice. So one of the things that I really dislike about weddings and the wedding industry is how wasteful they can be. When I'm tearing down a wedding, there's so many things that end up just getting tossed out, thrown out, and essentially going to waste at the end of the day. And it pains me when I have to toss all these things out, and so I wanted to do a video about things that you can cut out of your wedding, and if you're looking to have a eco-friendly and more sustainable wedding, here are 10 tips to do so. Number one, rent your decor instead of purchasing it. Whatever you can rent, do so rather than purchasing it. That way you're not acquiring more material goods. You're not having things shipped and transported across the country to get to you, and just that whole concept of reusing and recycling items that are already in existence is a great way to start when it comes to being sustainable for your wedding. So there are a lot of resources, especially online, when it comes to reusing and renting decor. Obviously, there are rental companies that specialize in wedding decorations, and so that's a great place to start. But also places like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, where people have gotten married and they have all of these leftover wedding decorations and are reselling them. Those are also really great resources to acquire decorations so that you don't have to purchase brand new items. Number two, this one's probably pretty obvious, but avoid any single-use plastics for your wedding. So plastic cups, plastic cutlery, plates, any of that. The most sustainable direction to go when it comes to your glassware and flatware and all eatery items would be to use actual china and actual dishes that you can dish, and then they can be reused after the wedding. However, this does tend to be a little bit pricier, and if that's not in your budget, or if that's just not an option for you based on the catering stuff that you'll have and kind of washing the dishes after the fact, disposable can be a lot easier, and I understand that. But there are also a lot of compostable options when it comes to disposable plates and cups and flatware. And so if you are going to go that route, try and find options that are going to be compostable, biodegradable, so that if they are getting tossed out, they're not going to just sit in a landfill for the next 100 years. Number three is your flowers. So while flowers are from the earth, they tend to just get tossed out after the wedding, and it can be extremely wasteful. So there's a couple options here. You can donate the flowers to kind of prolong their life a little bit longer. However, if you're having a summer wedding, and depending on the flowers you're using, the longevity of the appearance of these flowers may not last past the wedding, so that might not be an option for you. However, another option is to compost the flowers. So whether you do this yourself, or some florists will offer a kind of a strike service where they come and pick up all of the flowers either the night of the wedding or the day after, and they will take care of either reusing or composting or whatever they need to do to get rid of the flowers in a more sustainable way. Another option here is to use potted plants and flowers instead of flowers that have been cut at the stem, because obviously they will die at the end of the wedding. If you are using potted plants and flowers, you can then take them home and they can live on. You can plant them in your yard. You can give them to friends and family to plant in their yard, and you don't ever have to throw them away after the wedding. Number four, skip any printed paper items. This includes any of your menu items, your programs, escort cards. All of these are not necessarily necessary. Escort cards, you can find another use to kind of label someone's name if you don't want to use an actual piece of paper, and you can get rid of the other items because they're just not necessary. When it comes to invites, you can go digital. I'm going to do a whole video on digital invitations here coming up, so look out for that, but you don't have to have paper invites if you are trying to be more sustainable and eco-friendly for your wedding. There are other options to do everything digital so that you don't have to waste any paper. Number five, opt for kegs at your bar rather than bottles and cans, and then again use either a glass pint that your guests will have to either keep hold of for the night and reuse their glass, or just have extra glassware behind the bar that will be washed at the end of the night and reused for other events. Number six, Ditch the favors. Just don't even deal with wedding favors if you are trying to be eco-friendly and sustainable for your wedding. 9 times out of 10, there are tons of favors left over at weddings. And regardless the route that you go here, you are likely going to have extras, and then that's something that you have to deal with after the wedding. And if you're trying to be more sustainable, just get rid of the favors altogether. Number 7, register for non-material items for your wedding registry. This means registering for more activities and maybe gift cards, or I've had couples that are doing renovations on their home, and so places like Honey Fund online, you can select certain activities or projects that people can essentially donate towards, so that you can use that towards something in your life rather than a material item. Number 8, one of the most wasteful things I think for weddings is the attire, bridesmaids' dresses. If you've ever been in a wedding and you were a bridesmaid, you probably have that dress hanging in your closet and you're never going to wear it again. If you're like me, you probably have 7 hanging in your closet that you're never going to wear again. And right now, the mix and match bridesmaid look is super on trend, and so this will make things a lot easier for you, but trying to find secondhand or used bridesmaids dresses is a great way to be more sustainable for your wedding. There are online resources like ThredUp and Poshmark where people are selling their bridesmaids dress that they wore one time, and it's a great way to kind of also save money but also help save the environment at the same time. Number 9, this goes back to the flowers, but find a florist that uses locally sourced flowers primarily. And also keep that in mind when you're selecting your flowers. You want to use flowers that can be found local so that your florist does not have to have anything shipped in from out of state. This will be the most sustainable way that you can have flowers at your wedding and try and get everything as local as possible. And number 10, along the same lines, is using a caterer that supports local farmers and uses locally sourced products. You also don't want to overestimate the amount of food too much so that you aren't left with a ton of leftovers. However, if you do have leftovers at the end of the night, make sure that you are talking with your caterer and that you have a plan for these, so to limit the amount of waste that is left over at the end of the night. So if you're able to have them box it up for you, any leftovers, so that you can take it with you and either feed your bridal party at the end of the night as in like a nice little late night snack, or freeze it and be able to eat it over the coming weeks, have a plan in place so that none of the food that is left over goes to waste. Also, having a plated meal over a buffet tends to be a little bit less wasteful as well. Well, there are 10 tips to have a sustainable wedding. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to get weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice, and we will see you next week.